Thought we'd come back and give this fairy garden a little once-over and see how it's changed since we put it together. Thought it's looking pretty good. What do you think? My plants that I put in here did fill out. It's looking pretty good. And my little lilies are doing great also. It still looks pretty good. But it's been a little while, and now look at all the flowers that have bloomed out. I wish we had smell-o-vision, because these smell just wonderful. And as you can see, we have a lot more all about. Oh my gosh, I just love this. These have been in here for a long, long time. They're not new. Probably been a couple of years, and every year when they bloom out, maybe this is the third year they've been in here, because every year they get bigger and more beautiful. I always love coming out here and seeing what my gardens still look like. You know, it's been a while since we've seen this one. Look how it's really improved with time. Well, I think it's time to go do another fairy garden. What do you think? I think this one's looking pretty good. I think we'll keep coming back and doing a little update every week on a fairy garden and see how they look once the plants bloom out a little. Because there's always going to be a few new plants in every design. Well, let's go see what we're going to do today. Well, let's get busy and make a fairy garden. Let's finish cleaning out this container, take out the fairy accessories, and make a fairy garden. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Let's get busy. Well, as you can see, I got the container pretty cleaned out. But after I got it cleaned out, I noticed we had a few little babies coming up. I will try not to bury these babies and see if they'll come and see what we have in the way of plants. But I think we're going to be pretty good. This succulent was in this pot already. This California poppy was here. And I'm not quite sure what that is, but it's pretty, so we're leaving it alone. We just do the best we can with what we have. And let's see how much we spend putting this one together. We're all finished with our fairy garden today. It was a big mess when we got over here, but now it's all cleaned up and re-put together with lots of different elevations for you to enjoy. We filled all the dirt up with grass clippings because you know Grandma is a lover of grass clippings. I don't like looking at bare soil in my fairy garden. So I thought it turned out pretty good. We only got 2 new plants in here. The rest were already in here. Still have a big mess out here to clean up, as you can tell. But as we're doing fairy gardens, we will get this mess cleaned up. Hopefully it will look better by Saturday, because we have to do Garden Saturday. And definitely want to get in here and get everything cleaned up. Well, we spent, this was $2.50, and this plant was $6 I got at Trader Joe's. This is a lavender plant that I'll be putting somewhere else because the lavender plant is going to get too big for this container. But it's fine for this photo op. And I'll be moving this plant also. And I'll be taking everything out, and we will redo this a different fairy garden probably in a couple of weeks. But I just wanted to share with you what you can do for a very small amount of money. The container I've had for years The pine cones I found on the ground, so they were free. My little piece of wood here was something I found on the ground and have saved. And believe it or not, I've had that for quite a few years also. It always looks great in my fairy gardens, so that's why when I find a piece of odd wood somewhere laying on the ground, I usually pick it up. And here's my little fairy I've had about maybe 3 years, and the same with the one behind it. The two little fairy sisters are out here bird watching. As you can hear, the birds are out here with them. And they love their birds, and here is a cute little birdhouse they have in here. That wasn't new either. And my little house is probably about 3 years old. So most of the fairy accessories are probably about 3 years old. The only two new plants was the lavender that it's going to get moved to the front, and the alyssum I'll be taking out of the container and moving it around also. It's a 6-pack, so I will be using it in the garden. So we're taking the cost of it in this video, for I can be a free when I actually put it in a pot. So what do you think? For what did I say we spent for this? We got $8.50. Everything in here except for the 2 plants I already had. And the grass clippings, of course, are free too, because every time we mow the yard, I save my grass clippings. And I thought we did pretty good. And I'm sure when I come back to redo this container with another fairy garden, I'm going to be cutting some succulents and filling it in with succulents, because I don't want to be spending a lot of money. And this succulent was a cutting probably from last year. I have a lot of succulents in my garden, and you know the great thing about succulents, you cut them, you let the end dry out a little bit, and you got another plant. And that's how I'm going to be doing most of my fairy gardens anyway, is with the succulents. Because another great thing about the succulents, they look good for years. I just took a fairy garden apart the other day because I needed the plants for the front yard. I had had that garden together for 5 years, never did anything but clean it up a little and trim it, and that was it. Well, we'll see you next Thursday for another fairy garden video. Hugs and kisses to all of you, and if any of you'd want to join in, just go ahead and use the hashtags you see on this video and put in your fairy garden. You know I'm a fairy lover, and I love seeing what everybody else does. Please leave me a comment and let me know that you put a fairy garden up today, for I can make sure to go over and look at it. And you know I give shout outs once a week also for my fairy garden lovers.